Good evening and welcome to CYC News for tonight, the 15th of March 2015 AD and the 6th of Barhamhat 1731 AM. I'm David Nada.
And I'm Christina Maurice. In today's headlines, His Holiness Pope Tawadros II prays a liturgy in remembrance of the late Pope Kyrillos VI. International Women's Day receives global attention. Iraqi Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities charges Islamic State with selling Assyrian monuments and treasures on the black market. Church construction causes conflicts in Egypt during crucial times, while President Sisi aims to embrace unity. Pope Francis announces a Catholic Year of Mercy to commence later this year, and breakthroughs in the USA's search to lower disease and deaths through increasing the legal smoking age.
To our top story tonight, where His Holiness Pope Tawadros II headed the Divine Liturgy of the remembrance of the late Pope Kyrillos VI in St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Cathedral in Assyrian, Cairo, Egypt. A great number of bishops, monks, priests and congregation attended the liturgy. His Holiness Pope Tawadros gave a sermon about the lost son during the liturgy. After ending, His Holiness inaugurated a museum containing some of the late Pope Kyrillos' collectibles. Also on the occasion of the remembrance of the late Pope Kyrillos VI, His Holiness Pope Tawadros visited the region of the windmill. This region, in ancient Egypt, is where Pope Kyrillos used to live as a monk. Here he visited all the sections of the hospital, learning about the possibilities and the medical and therapeutic services.
International Women's Day was on Sunday 8th of March, and women all over the world participated in prayers and activities to mark this joyous and celebratory occasion. Pope Francis addressed all women of the world with a special greeting. He said, "Today, on March 8, I send a greeting to all the women. This special day is a chance to reaffirm the importance of women everywhere. A world where women are marginalized is a sterile world, because not only do women carry new life with them, but they also have a capacity to see beyond things. They see over and above." Pope Francis has often said he wants women to have a greater role in the Roman Catholic Church. Although he says a ban on women priests is definitive, he wants to appoint more nuns and other women to senior positions at the Vatican. In other parts of the globe, on Monday 9th of March, in the papal headquarters of Alexandria, Egypt, under the supervision of His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, there was a prayer meeting that gathered all female Christian denominations. The prayer meeting was attended by Hegumen Ebram Bishondi, the representative of the seminary in Alexandria, Hegumen Ebram Emil, the Secretary of the Council of Priests in Alexandria as a representative for the Coptic Orthodox Church, Hegumen Alphonse Abayad as a representative for the Coptic Catholic Church, and Hegumen Safwat Al-Bayad as an honorary president for the Evangelical Church. A great number of Christian women attended the meeting of prayer. According to the habit of this annual meeting of prayer, the prayer be dedicated to the women in one of the countries that suffer. This time, the prayer was dedicated to the women in the Bahamas, and due to the recent circumstances that Egypt has had, a part of the program was dedicated for praying for Egypt.
To Coptic news, where last Wednesday His Holiness Pope Tawadros II received members of the Military Attaches Association of Cairo in the papal headquarters. During the meeting, His Holiness Pope Tawadros said that the condition of disorder and violence that takes place in the Middle East targets to clear the area of Christians. This is danger not only for the Middle East, but also for the entire world as well. His Holiness added during his talk to the members, "Your support is a necessary matter to face the terrorism that has neither country nor religion, but it destroys humanity. Your support should include education, economy, and the relationships between Muslims and Christians." His Holiness also mentioned that in Egypt, they have a good relationship with Sheikh Al-Zahar, the president, and the government and the community. Captain Simon Brand, defense attaché, offered his condolences for the Egyptian victims who were martyred because of the violent deeds, and for the victims of the army and the police, assuring that the souls of the Egyptians are precious. He thanked His Holiness Pope Tawadros, saying, "Thanks for your efforts in confirming peace in Egypt and the entire world. I follow up your activities in spreading the human values. That is an important matter in our community and at the current time."
Still in Coptic news, the Bishopric Youth of America and Canada inaugurated a centre for training young servants in Canada in St. Mark Church in the papal headquarters with the presence of H.D. Bishop Kyrillos, the papal representative in America. About 60 male and female servants enrolled from different churches in the northeast region of the USA. The centre presents lectures specialised in the Holy Bible, dogma, patrology, apologetics, and Christian counselling and psychology.
In Ireland, His Grace Bishop Anthony, Bishop of Ireland, Scotland, North East England and its affiliated regions, and also the abbot of the monastery of St. Athanasius, ordained a new monk with the name of Father John in the monastery of St. Athanasius, with the presence of the monks of Ireland and the monastery synod.
To Iraq, where the Islamic State sold Assyrian monuments and sculptures on the black market outside of Iraq, the Iraqi Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities announced Wednesday at a symposium held by the General Secretary of the Council of Ministers. The symposium, under the title of Islamic State and Humanity, History and Civilization, took place at the Council's headquarters in the Iraqi capital Baghdad. Deputy Ministry of Tourism, Qas Hossein Rashid, and said ISIS members sold Assyrian monuments and manuscripts on the black market outside of Iraq and also burned 1,500 historical manuscripts, selling Assyrian monuments through illegal excavations carried out in archaeological sites before they were detonated and bulldozed. Rashid explained that the ministry managed to stop the sale of some Iraqi antiquities in some international auctions, expressing his concern about the fate of more than 500 heritage houses and foundations in Mosul. In the same context, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Adel Shashab announced that IS elements destroyed and stole Iraqi Assyrian antiquities and destroyed historical houses of worship, including mosques, Shiite mosques and churches, particularly in the province of Nineveh. Shashab called on the international community to take a serious stance to prevent the sale of stolen monuments and help in restoring them. IS members have recently destroyed and stolen many heritage and cultural sites in the province of Nineveh, Iraq, particularly Assyrian monuments. IS elements also blew up many churches in Mosul, Nineveh province, which was taken by the IS headquarters for its caliphate in Iraq. The bombings have targeted old churches, in particular since the organisation controlled the city on June 10.
Still in Iraq, witnesses confirmed to MCN on Tuesday that elements of the Islamic State bombed the ancient church of St. George in Mosul and swept away its cemetery. The witnesses added that on late Monday, IS members booby-trapped the church's facade, which was engraved with a large cross and a number of shrines of Christian clergy within the church, and blew them up. They then swept the cemetery away with bulldozers, which was attached to the church. IS elements also booby-trapped and bombed the Hamdaniya municipality headquarters in the Christian city of Karkosh, Nineveh, on Wednesday. The city is the largest Christian city in Iraq and had a population of approximately 50,000 Christians.
Over to Egypt, His Grace Bishop Marcos attends the Evangelical Church's celebration of honouring Hegumen Safwat al-Bayadi and receiving Hegumen Andrei Zaki. His Holiness Pope Tawadros II deputed Bishop Marcos, General Bishop of Shobra al-Khaima in Egypt, to participate in the celebrations. The celebration was attended by many officials of the country, Dr. Mahad Goma as a representative of Sheikh Ahmed al-Tayyib, Sheikh al-Azhar, Patriarch Anbar Ibrahim Isaac, Patriarch of the Coptic Catholic Church, His Grace Bishop Daniel, Bishop of Al-Mayadi, and His Grace Bishop Armia, the General Bishop, as representatives of the Coptic Orthodox Church, as well as a number of Christian religious leaders and some public figures.
Father Athanasius Mikhail, a professor of church history in the Coptic Seminary, condemned the absence of 6 centuries of Coptic Egyptian history in the history textbooks taught in schools and universities in Egypt. This classifies Egypt as a fanatical state, says Father Mikhail. All Egyptian universities do not have departments for Coptic history, with the exception of the American University in Cairo, which provides such studies, Father Mikhail told MCN. He pointed out that these things show Egypt, before other states, as a fanatical state in dealing with history. Father Mikhail moved to talk about the reign of the late President Anwar Sadat, saying that he was the cause of all the suffering of Copts. He added that Sadat revived the Muslim Brotherhood and Islamist group and was the first president to arrest and imprison Christian bishops and priests. The priest asserted that neither the British, French or Turks did this. Concluding his interview with MCN, the priest stressed that the worst period experienced by the Copts in the modern era was the reign of the Muslim Brotherhood. In their 1-year rule of Egypt, churches were burnt and the cathedral was blockaded and hurled with Molotov cocktails. An
Egyptian poet has written about the exterminations of Christians fitting in with Egypt's religious heritage. The extermination of Christians is compatible with our religious thought and heritage, said Egyptian writer and poet Ahmed Abdelmuti Higazi. The prevailing religious thought is a Salafi ideology that was founded 1,000 years ago, Higazi wrote in an article published in Al-Haram Wednesday, adding, this ideology prevented thinking and prohibited rational currents. This inherited thought welcomed dubious accounts and texts that agree with the wishes of religious scholars and interpreters, Higazi wrote. This ideology also embraced legendary stories and radical fatwas that do not give much space to reason, logic, free thinking, and development of people or communities. Higazi explained that this heritage mixes between religion and politics, and it is hostile to democracy and human rights. It despises women and discriminates between Muslims and non-Muslims. It also denies discoveries, facts, and scientific theories achieved in modern times. Is this Islam? Higazi wondered. Islam cannot be the religion shown by these savage gangs in our country and in other countries. It cannot be murder, slaughter, burning, bombing, destruction, stoning, cutting off hands and legs, captivity of women and children, extermination of Yazidis and Christians, demolishing of museums, burning of books, and destruction of statues. Higazi concluded, if we ask this question to scholars and followers of this heritage who understand text literally, the answer will be yes, and Islam will be the religion believed in by Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, and Boko Haram.
Still in Egypt, church construction conflict revives the trend of militants preventing the building of churches. The scene of a number of radical Muslims preventing the building of a church in the village of Al-Gala in Samalut, Minya, has revived the tragedies of preventing the building churches, although they have the necessary licenses issued by the state. This situation raises many questions about the Egyptian state submission to the Salafist movement at a time when President Abdel Fattah El-Sisi calls for the renewal of religious discourse and leading a religious revolution. Perhaps the most similar incident was the church in the village of Marinab Edfa, Aswan, where militants in the village gathered on Friday, September the 30th, 2011, in front of the church after the mosque's sheikhs there alleged that Christians had turned the church building to a place for prayer without a permit. Although all the village's buildings are built without permissions, they attacked and destroyed the church building, burnt Coptic houses, and looted property. Security forces could not control the situation, and the mob prevented the firefighters from entering the village. Militants broke into the priest's office, threw its contents in the street, and burnt them.
To Jordanian news now, where the Jordanian king has said that the world community is saddened over the attacks on the Coptic Christians. Targeting minorities in the region is a crime against humanity, and the attacks on Coptic Christians make everyone feel sad and angry, said Jordanian monarch King Abdullah II during his Tuesday speech before the European Parliament. King Abdullah said interfaith dialogue is a counter-terrorism method. He noted that European role is very important in the fight against IS, asserting that IS threatens the whole world. We are determined to continue our fight against this organisation because killing the Jordanian pilot by IS shocked the whole world, the Jordanian king said. He pointed out that the doctrines based on hatred have surfaced again to threaten the world, and the practices of terrorists are unacceptable by any religion. So values rejecting violence must be disseminated among young people. The king stressed that Europe is an important partner in the fight against terrorism.
In Catholic news, His Holiness Pope Francis announced an extraordinary jubilee, a holy year of mercy, to highlight the Catholic Church's mission to be a witness of mercy. No one can be excluded from God's mercy. Pope Francis said on the March 13th, marking the second anniversary of his pontificate, by leading a Lenten penance service in St. Peter's Basilica. I frequently have thought about how the Church can make more evident its mission to be a witness of mercy, he said during his homily. That is why he decided to call a special Holy Year, which will be celebrated from 8th of December 2015 until 20th November 2016. His Holiness said, the biblical theme of the year will be merciful just as your Father is merciful, an admonition that applies especially to confessors. Traditionally, every 25 years, the popes proclaim a Holy Year, which features special celebrations and pilgrimages, strong calls for conversion and repentance, and the offer of special opportunities to experience God's grace through the sacraments, especially confession. Extraordinarily, holy years, like the Holy Year of Mercy, are less frequent, but offer the same opportunities for spiritual growth. The doors of the Church are wide open so that all those who are touched by the grace can feel by certainty of forgiveness. Pope Francis said at the penance service, which featured individual confessions. It was part of a worldwide celebration of 24 hours of the Lord, in which Catholic churches were staying open for prayer, Eucharistic adoration, and confession. Pope Francis said that he asked the Pontifical Council from promoting new evangelization to coordinate preparations for the Holy Year so that it would be a new stage in Church's journey in fulfilling its mission of bringing the gospel of mercy to each person.
In sport news, the Asian Football Confederation, AFC, has announced the 2019 Asian Cup will be held in the United Arab Emirates following a meeting of its executive committee in Manama, Bahrain. The UAE will host the competition for the second time, having previously held the event in 1996. Iran was the only other country to present a final bid for the tournament after 9 others dropped out at various stages in the process. I would like to congratulate the UAE Football Association on their successful bid to host the AFC Asian Cup 2019. AFC President Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa said, "The AFC Executive Committee was convinced by the merits of the UAE bid. I firmly believe that the UAE FA will host a tournament that could match and potentially even surpass the stunning AFC Asian Cup 2015 in Australia that we've all just witnessed." The UAE bid proposed to organise the tournament in 3 cities, Abu Dhabi, Dubai and Al Ain.
And finally, to health news, where America has shown a new report from the Institute of Medicine suggests that increasing the minimum age of legal access to tobacco products will improve the health of Americans across their lifespan and saves lives. The report notes that over the past half a century, there have been an estimated 8 million fewer premature deaths thanks to increased tobacco control efforts in the US. However, more than 40 million Americans still smoke. Currently, the minimum age of legal access, or MLA, for tobacco products is set at 18 years for most states, and some localities, such as New York City, have raised it to 21. The Institute of Medicine report finds that raising the MLA of tobacco products to 21 will have a substantially greater impact than raising it to 19. Explaining how they arrive at this conclusion, the authors say that it is between the ages of 15 and 17 when teenagers begin to drive, take on part-time jobs, and encounter more people over the MLA who may smoke, when Americans typically first have access to tobacco. Illustrating the impact of raising the MLA might have on the public health if implemented now, the study found that by 2100 there would be a decrease in smoking prevalence of 3% for an MLA of 19 compared to a 12% decrease for an MLA of 21. In terms of how raising the MLA to 21 may decrease rates of death and disease, the study estimates that for people born between 2000 and 2019, there would be 249,000 fewer premature deaths, 45,000 fewer deaths from lung cancer, and 4.2 million fewer years of life lost. Well, America, this is definitely something to consider.
And that's all for CYC News for today. Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Christina Maurice.
And I'm David Nada. And from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia, good night and God bless.